And much of the attention is now turning south. We're live to Sky News weather presenter Nikolina Kharoufeh, who is near Maitland. Nikolina, what are conditions like there?
Yeah, Kenny, so we are here in Maitland, part of the Hunter region. Now, overnight, we had seen some pretty heavy falls around here, mostly along that coastal area of the Hunter. So inland, not so much, but still seeing those totals and around between 100 and 150 millimetres. But what we're seeing here now in the Hunter, although that system's moving further down south, is isolated communities remain here. Flooding is a major concern. We have multiple road closures around this area, and you can see here just how extensive the flooding is. So we've come here to Morpeth, just past the Morpeth Bridge, and I'll show you just behind me just how far that water level has risen. So this is the Hunter River. The Hunter River is one of the major concerns near Maitland. That's at a moderate level now, at around 8 metres, steadily rising. So, of course, the river flow from up north, from around that Taree area, that's starting to move further down south, which will continue to do so today. So despite that rain moving further down south, what we're looking at here is continuous rises of river levels. That has completely isolated some of the properties here. You can see just how extensive this is. Some of these families up there have been there since the last few days, since the last 48 hours. Part of that, 50,000 people who have been completely cut off. Some of these areas looking more like islands as opposed to the paddocks and the greenery that you usually see in this area. Just even walking around today and with our camo also travelling into this area, multiple road closures. There's around 45 roads closed just around Maitland. From those, dozens of those have been damaged, so those aren't set to open anytime soon. So that disruption will continue over the coming, not just days, but also those weeks as well. Now, part of this, of course, is with these isolated communities, is the SES is trying their best to get to these people to make sure that these families are supplied with whatever they need, whether it be medical assistance or whether that be food and other supplies. And this is what the SES had to recently say.
The other focus today will be the resupply for these 50,000 residents in the Mid North Coast that are cut off at the moment and isolated. So we're putting resupply plans in place to source food and caches for those people in those flood islands like Taree until the highway reopens. There's also a lot of villages and locations and farms and people in the hinterland areas that are cut off as well at the moment.
In the following days, we'll be seeing also the impacts of the damage around here. So you can see not just those homes being inundated, but we also see properties around here. And we've been seeing many different residents out and about, trying to get some cleaning done. It's not just about the homes here. It's also about machinery. We can see, just near us here, there is a hay supplier, and some of that hay supply also being impacted by this, with that water level just continuously rising, which is a huge issue. Another task on hand for the state here and for the community is, of course, as well, restoring power.
It's hugely challenging for our staff. We are hoping today to have multiple helicopters in the air if conditions become favourable. We're really confident once we get a good assessment of the network. We have multiple crews on standby from right across the state, and they're very keen to get in and help our local teams support communities and get supply back on.
Now, the SES has conducted another 177 rescues since 9 a.m. yesterday. This is on top of the hundreds of rescues that have been conducted since the start of the week, the start of this particular event, this rain event. And they're urging communities, which it looks, very, very safe at times to drive through that flood border, but they're urging communities to make sure that if they see water over the road, they avoid driving over it. We see SES community members out along the signs here, making sure they're keeping residents informed, but they can only do so much. So they're really asking the community to make sure that that is a priority and that they're staying out of harm's way. The other thing that we've seen around here, Kenny, which has really been great, is just the community coming together. Just seeing residents, for example, last night, the SES Commissioner was here around Maitland, and he also did some sandbagging and also hosted a dinner for the SES volunteers that have been working tremendously hard around here. They also had a donation from Shipley Meats, which is a local meat supplier here, for that dinner. So they've really come together here. But of course, the major concern, that river level rising, and we'll be here making sure to update you on that.
Yeah, that community spirit really comes out, doesn't it? Nikolina Kharoufeh, appreciate that.